You are now watching Main Wire TV with your host, Tom Shattuck, featuring Main Wire Editor-in-Chief Steve Robinson and the indispensable John Featherston.
Steve Robinson is on assignment. Garrick Hoffman joins us, along with Graham Pollard and John Featherston. John, I can't help but think that door behind you rings familiar.
Yeah, we've talked about legit home healthcare a couple times. Steve and I even were on Newsmax talking about it with Rob Finner. It's legit. This is my fourth time here. Fourth time I haven't found anybody here. And as you can see, they stepped out for coffee shortly. So I'm hoping during the 4 to 5 broadcast, because they're open from 9 to 5 every day, that we'll run into somebody here and we can talk to them a little bit about it.
Oh, so you just them again?
It's just legit, So
yeah.
But as Seamus has reported and Steve has reported, this is owned by Youssef, which is the state rep's wife's company, and they've billed hundreds of thousands of dollars to the main care billing. So they're legit, and we're just going to wait for them to show up.
They got some great signage too. It looks like it's very well taken care of.
Yeah, and then John, it's not only legit home healthcare. There's 2 or 3 other home healthcare facilities.
There's 3 total inside this building. This building, it's a cold day here in Portland, Maine. It's probably 20 degrees outside, and it might be 23 degrees inside this hallway. So,
bless your heart, John. You're doing the Lord's work.
The standards of shell fraud businesses, alleged shell fraud businesses, that stenciling is actually pretty high end.
It's legit, Tom.
Yeah. I love how at least the person's alive in the heartbeat in that logo. It's not a total flat line.
Does that also share a building with a money wire transfer business as well?
Oh, Garrick, it's right next door. It's not in the same building. It's right next door. They have to work. They have to work a little bit harder here. Yeah. So.
They have to take a couple extra steps, huh?
The word legit is right there, Garrick, and you bring us down to a place of cynicism. I don't get it. All right, let's start with our new world here. It's unbelievable to me that we have that it's been 3 days. I think we're at war, right? We are 3 days.
Early Saturday morning. Yeah, early Saturday morning. Right?
And we've bombed the hell out of Iran, and so have the Israelis. There seems to be we've killed all the leadership in Iran, and we keep killing the new ones too. They keep bringing in ringers, and we keep knocking them off too. Let's go a little bit of this is today's briefing with Raising Cane, General Kane, about what we're doing over there.
To those who would test our resolve or threaten the United States, our allies, or our interests, understand clearly we can reach you, we can sustain the fight, and we can scale the fight, and we will prevail. To the American people, your joint force remains steady, frosty, calm, and focused. Your service members are trained, disciplined, and determined. We understand the risks of this mission and the weight of the responsibility that we carry. We also recognize that our families also shoulder the burden at home. You are a part of this too. I am proud today, as I am every day, to stand as a member of America's joint force. There is no mission too complex, no distance too great, and no adversary too determined for the men and women who wear our nation's uniform. We mourn our fallen, we honor their families, and we continue our mission with focus, unity, and strength. And now I'm happy to take any questions.
So there you go. Okay, so essentially he's saying that the big dog is now in the Middle East, and it's obviously messaging to the Russians and the Chinese as well, that we have capabilities. We're showing them some of these that's not dog fights because they're not really flying a whole lot, but some of these videos of the U.S. warplanes, avoiding heat-seeking missiles are pretty damn impressive. And this is the military we have paid for. John, it's funny because this issue is one that very possibly and probably very likely those of us who work at the main wire are split on. Many Republicans and many conservatives do not like this. This was going to be the no foreign wars administration, but he's doing it. Trump is doing it. I will say one thing. My take on this, regardless of where you fall, what your opinion is that this is a monstrously ballsy move by Trump. This is a huge move by Trump with a lot of potential downside and a lot of potential upside. But man, this guy has cojones.
Well, Tom, a couple things on, I am a America First priority guy, and let's take care of America first. But a couple things, and in facts matter. You're a United States congressman or a United States senator, and you don't know that Trump has been amassing massive firepower off of the coast of Iran for months, then you're not doing your job. And you had every right to ask 3 months ago, well, why is the Gerald Ford, world's largest aircraft carrier, headed over to, Iraq? Why are you sending so many, stealth bombers over to Iraq? You had every right to ask that question. And now for people to be wringing their hands, Saturday morning, oh, he didn't ask, he didn't tell. You guys didn't do your job. You didn't pay attention. If you'd gone to the State of the Union, you could have asked him when he came down the aisle, like, are you planning to attack Iraq? Hey, here's the bottom line. He has said, and I support, you can't let Iran have nuclear missiles. Period. End of story. Because they will eradicate Israel if they get them. And people say, oh, you can't say that, John. Well, no, it's not me saying that. They've said it for hundreds of years, if not even longer than years. They want to destroy Israel. Mm-hmm. Trump has drew the line in the sand and said, no, it's not going to happen. So for now, people to say, tomorrow they're going to hold hearings and, going, oh, he didn't ask for permission. Well, neither did Barack Obama when he bombed, people, neither did Bill Clinton when he bombed people. So, yeah, none of us want war. None of us want war. And there will be consequences to this. And unfortunately, we've already lost a couple of Americans. But shut up. You politicians going, we didn't know about this. We didn't know. We talked about this for weeks on the show here, Main Wire TV. We joked about it like they were even going to do it during the State of the Union. If you didn't know, then maybe you should step aside.
Yeah. And so, Garrick, is this the beginning of an era of more peace in the Middle East, or have we kicked the beehive here?
I gotta say, this is actually a topic that I am not as familiar with or have as much authoritative or confident, knowledge about or information about. And in fact,
anyway, Garrick, doesn't matter. We're all just throwing it out there.
Well, here's the thing. My question is, what is the desired outcome of this? What do you guys like? I don't know what's been publicly said, really. I've looked into it, read about it, but I haven't really gotten any answers. Like, what is the desired outcome? Is it to ensure that Iran does not have nuclear capabilities, and so to protect us and our allies? Is that the desired outcome? Would you say?
Graham, I'll throw it to you. That's certainly one of them.
Yeah. I have a couple takes on it. I feel like everyone, when this happened, and you said it, Tom, people are very split on this issue. Even in the Democrat side is split a little bit on this issue, maybe not as much as the Republican side. I feel like I'm one of the only people that's kind of legitimately on the fence on this, where I can see it going wrong and being a disaster. But if we're able to execute, and if we're out of there in a month and we've succeeded in all the objectives that Trump's laid out, I think it would be a huge win for America. So I'm kind of, on my side, letting to see how it plays out a little bit before I jump to blaming or congratulating Trump on this one. I think the objectives, the stated objectives that Trump has said on videos are, one, to destroy the Iran Navy, two, to destroy Iran's conventional missile capability. And Iran has been shown to have a fairly competent conventional conventional missile capability. It's an area they've really succeeded in manufacturing and developing in. And in the Russia-Ukraine war, actually, they've sent a lot of those missiles over to Russia, and same with the drones. And then, so Trump's basically saying that we need to get rid of, they're trying to use this conventional missile system as a shield so no one can attack them while they develop nuclear missiles. And then, like, essentially, when they have nuclear missiles, like we see it with North Korea, no one can mess with you when you have nuclear missiles. It's just too risky. So that's what Trump is stating. The objectives, the real kind of 5D chess, if you want to say that objective that I really think is happening, has more to do with combating the rise of BRICS and the rise of de-dollarification. Because I think that is one of the real, maybe the biggest risk to American dominance that's been really gone underreported, maybe even since World War II, is we've been able to successfully export our inflation by the fact that the dollar is a global reserve currency. And the dollar is used for global trade all over the world. And really during the Biden administration, you saw a lot of these countries, Brazil, Russia, India, Brazil, Russia, Iran, China, South Africa, even expanding over to Africa, expanding over to some other countries. They called it BRICS Plus, really trying to set up a global system of trade that didn't use the US dollar. And if that really fully developed, that would have been fairly catastrophic for the U.S. economy. It almost certainly would have led to hyperinflation, because we wouldn't have been able to export our inflation across the world anymore. A lot of both Venezuela and Iran's oil exports go to China and were not being used under the U.S. dollar. I believe I've read that 90% of Iran's oil exports went to China, and it was being done in Chinese currency, not in the U.S. dollar. So if Trump is able to effectively overthrow this regime in a quick, timely manner and replace it with a more pro-Western regime that's not going to send all their oil to China, I think that's a huge win when it comes to A, peace in the Middle East, and B, kind of eroding the general influence of China's spear across the entire world. So that's the overall objective. The last thing I will say is, objectively, the old school Iranian flag with the lion, a way cooler flag than the new flag they use. So they should overthrow the regime just to get that flag back. That flag is sweet.
Yeah.
Number one priority for sure.
I think that's important what you said, Graham, about the oil to China as well. It will give us increased leverage if there is a regime in Iran that we can work with, or our regime, or whatever it is. Then that's absolutely huge. Hey, John, you and I have been watching these guys since the late 70s. Mm-hmm. Is this a long time coming? To me, it is. I've had enough of these radical Shiite psychos since the late 1970s, and I think they have needed a thorough ass kicking for about 5 decades.
Our two younger panelists are too young to remember 1979 and the Iran hostages and the beginning of Nightline, which was great TV, because Nightline was developed, because of the Iran hostage situation. And they've been sticking their, finger in our eye for, how many years is that? 50 years, let's call it. It's time. And it's Graham is 100% right. If we're there, 6 months from now and we're nation building, I will criticize it, because I don't want to build, a new nation. I do want regime change. I want a regime change that'll be positive to the Americans. And Graham is right. It's all about oil in the Middle East. And, let's not fool ourselves. It's all about oil and nothing else, But it is also making sure that they don't get nuclear arms, because they will eventually try to destroy Israel. But it's nice that we finally have an American president who is proud to be American and say, hey, the rest of the world, don't mess with us, because our technology is the best, our military is the best, our know-how is the best. We are the world superpower, and you guys all know it, and we just showed it to you on Saturday morning, don't mess with us.
Yeah, I will say, oh, sorry.
No, you go right ahead, Garrick. I'm going to you anyway.
I will say, when I woke up to the news, I was pretty bummed, without knowing what his desired outcome or strategy is, only because it is kind of tiring to think of more war, essentially, and war in the Middle East, especially because of how long it's been going. For most of my life, there's been, America's been involved in conflicts in the Middle East, and so, thinking about, leading up to Trump's second term, being sanguine about the prospect of no war, that instilled hope. So seeing this, I was like, oh man, wow, I guess, so much for that. But at the same time, it's like, I want to be able to trust that, that it's not like some kind of arbitrary, obviously not an arbitrary move, but that there is like a strategy and a plan involved, and that it will be in favor of America and not, not just foreign nations, even though like it's obviously good to support our allies as well and everything like that.
Well, look at the rest of the Gulf states with Saudi Arabia and Qatar and UAE. They're arguably the new Europe in terms of desirability for foreigners to go travel, especially in Dubai. I mean, Dubai is like the global capital of luxury right now. There's no real reason that Iran shouldn't also have the same level of prosperity, other than the Iranian leadership, because Iran has just as much oil as those countries, and they have even more people. They're the highest population in the Middle East. I think their population is like 80 million or something like that. I apologize if I'm wrong. But they're ran by ideologues that govern on they govern on religious ideology rather than political thinking. And it's got to be a complicated system of governments. I mean, I can't say I'm a particular expert, but when you have a president that's elected but is essentially effectively has no power because the Ayatollah, who's the supreme leader, is the one that's really in charge, like, how are you really supposed to get anything productive done in a situation like that? And Trump has said that repeatedly. He's like, we try to negotiate with them. It's almost impossible to negotiate with people who are functioning based on religious ideology rather than any type of political grounding. Getting rid of the Ayatollahs, I think, has the potential to really revitalize the Iran as a country and be great for the people of Iran as well.
The unrest in Iran last month was all economic. It was because the currency there just cratered, and so people can't buy goods and services anymore. The government, of course, has been spending a bleep load on offense, really, and they could give a damn. And so the citizenry had enough. That wasn't won over veils. But now Trump is trying to get people to, not quite yet. Today, they've been warning, everybody stay inside for now. But the idea here, John, is that the citizens hit the streets, right? That's the end game here.
Yeah, I mean, it's refreshing to see President Trump say, hey, stay inside. We've got a couple more days of intense bombing. And he even said today that the intense bombing hasn't even really begun yet. So there's another blitz planned. But he is telling the people, hey, we got rid of these bad people. Now it's time for you to rise up and take your country, and this is a opportunity. I mean, and this is where, Trump will make his legacy if this works out. And it is an if it works out, he has brought peace to a land that nobody ever would have thought that peace would have been brought to. So you got to give him kudos for that. I mean, even like in Venezuela, he basically took over Venezuela, but he said to the Venezuela people, okay, I got the bad people out of the way. Now you run your country. We're going to take some of your oil, but you run your country. And maybe, this is peace through strength. Maybe this is the classic thing that we've always said, that, like, hey, we'll protect you, but now it's going to be up for you to, set the course, because we've proven we're not good at nation building. Where have we ever done it well over the years and stuff like that? So, and I think he's aware. I mean, if any, Trump knows history. He knows history, and and what's the classic saying? If you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it again. So, I mean, I am very optimistic that this is going to work out. Yes, there'll be bumps in the road. Unfortunately, there'll be loss of lives. Yes, but war is never pretty, and people who think war can be pretty, you're delusional. It's not pretty.
Yeah, no, not at all. But Garrick, let me ask you something. Just civilizationally, there are people your age over there who know about the New York Yankees, know about the New England Patriots. They wear the same brands that you're wearing. They listen to the same music that you listen to. A lot of these people, certainly since they've had the internet and workarounds to get the internet, a lot of these people have embraced a lot of Western culture and Western values. But at the same time, they can, if a woman who's 27 years old breaks the rules and is dressed incorrectly, she'll be arrested, most likely systematically raped by the authorities, and all this other Stone Age, pattern of behavior that these radical Nazis, which is what they are, fanatics, do. Is there a place in the world for backwards powerhouses like Iran?
Well, I will say that like it's funny because I befriended when I was at college here in Maine. I befriended a woman from Iran. She became a good friend of mine. I was a writing tutor, and she moved to America presumably to flee the conditions there, so she could actually have more liberties and freedoms here in America. And she's had an amazing life. So like that was my first kind of insight into what life was like over there. And it's funny because because Western feminists, for example, and leftists are really fond of denouncing the patriarchy. You know what I mean? Here in America. And as it turns out, like the real patriarchy is in some of these Middle Eastern countries, or countries that are, Islam dominated essentially. Like the rules, the laws are based on the Quran and Islamic teachings and everything like that. So it's funny how they are so quick to denounce America as a oppressive patriarchy, when really you can find the patriarchy in countries like that out there where, like I remember my friend telling me, like, if you're a woman and you leave the house, you have to be accompanied by a man. And it's like, that's obviously backwards, and all of us would readily denounce that. I think the question though is like, to what degree does America have a duty to, I guess, like liberate the people of all these countries? Because, I think a lot of Americans are tired of America being the de facto world police. And
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think that's why a lot of conservatives younger conservatives have wanted to back out of that a little bit and be like, no, why do we have to police the world, and why are we responsible for all these foreign affairs everywhere? It's like, even if we strongly detest the values there or the laws anywhere, it's like, why is America solely responsible for liberating people in all these places? Because it requires resources and money, and in a case like this, lives. Like, we've already lost, I think, 4 American lives in the last few days, and so I think that's I guess like the prevailing question. What's a situation like this?
That is the question, and it's interesting because I've been going back and forth with a lot of conservatives who are angry. I do think we should be the world police, but I'm a neocon. I'm also for the Iraq War and the Afghanistan. So anybody under 40 thinks I'm a psycho, crazy, old fossil, warmonger, whatever. But Graham, should we be the world police? Doesn't it have to be a big dog?
I was fairly strongly opposed to giving a blank check to Ukraine. I don't think that was particularly beneficial to America's interest. I think that war could have been stopped about a month after it happened, and then Boris Johnson went over and told Ukraine, no, don't accept a peace deal with the Russians. You can fight, you can win, you can be the hero Zelensky that topples Putin. And then fast forward to now, we know that didn't exactly work. I'm wary of another situation like that in Iran if we do get bogged down and we're sitting here 6 months from now and, we're still fighting over there. I think I would really not support that. If it's a situation where we launch some bombs, it's a huge success. We accomplish our objectives in 4 weeks, and then Iran shifts to being a much more peaceful pro-America region. In that case, I think it is a success. So I think it really determines like how much money we spend. I don't want to give a blank check to Israel or Saudi Arabia or Jordan or Qatar to just have permanent money flowing so they can get air defense systems. Like, if they're going to buy it, fine, I got no problem with that. But I don't want to be just supplying that region like we have with so many other regions around the country, with military aid for really no reason that I think is specifically productive. I really like how we were going after fishing boats and using our military in our own hemisphere. I think that was a great shift of policy that the Trump administration did. It's like the first time in my life that I can remember that happening. This is just it's a difficult war to fight, right? Obviously, when you're fighting a war all the way across the country, that's going to be more expensive. So if we can get it in and out, like I said, I'm happy with it. I really don't want to be there for 6 months just spending a ton of taxpayer dollars on this.
Yeah, and John, it is cool to see our military in action and all these planes and all this ordnance working. I could watch it forever. It's just really good. It might seem insensitive to me. This is something a removed fat American would say, that it's a good TV, but it is. But John, like Graham said, yeah, it makes total sense in 1980 to be sending all sorts of weaponry and money to the Mujahideen, and then a little bit later, Mr. Bin Laden decides to keep the money and the weapons and change his ideology. So, I mean, how much should we be the referee in the earth?
I don't think we should be I mean, if we're sending our money, we do get to dictate where our money goes. But like I said, if Trump is true to his word, and I have no reason to believe that he's not, hey, we'll get rid of the bad guys. We'll get rid of the bombs. We'll get rid of the missiles, and we'll get rid of the technology to build nukes. Then it's up to you guys to build your country. And if that means Marco Rubio has to be over there for a while and guide them, and we send our ambassadors over there to give them advice. But I mean, in this, Americans, we live in the day and we forget history a lot. But 1970s, Iran looked very much like 1970s America. So it's not that long ago. So there are people still alive that understand, what it's like. This is an opportunity for them to forge their future. This is their Independence Day, and this could be a bright moment in the world history here. I mean, everything has to align, and but look at the firepower that we've exuded in the last 72 hours. And if taking Trump at his word that the worst of the bombings haven't even started yet, what's it going to look like in a week from now? We might be done in 2 weeks. We might be done in 2 weeks.
Well,
with this
yeah.
thing.
If I can just add one thing to that, I think the Venezuelan operation has been a tremendous success. And the new leader of Venezuela was the old vice president of Venezuela. And she is actually committed to getting along with the United States. And from everything I can tell, I saw Chris Wright was over there, the energy secretary. Seemed to have a very productive and welcoming group of Americans. A bunch of American journalists went down there. And that the lady that's running Venezuela was part of the Maduro regime, but I think she realized that you better start getting in line here and following along with Americans. So it's not like we inserted someone that we had in our back pocket into Venezuela. It's we kind of cut out the tumor, and then we're letting Venezuela run itself under the strict understanding that you better not go back to what you're doing before. I think if we can pull off something like that in Iran, I think it's a huge win. I don't know how many people know this or if it was really reported, but like a year and a half ago in Iran, the old president and the old foreign secretary died in a plane crash or a helicopter crash. Mm-hmm. And the current president of Iran, Pezeshkian, there's no way I pronounced that correctly. But there was like 6 or 8 candidates, and he was considered one of the more moderate, not hardline candidates. Obviously, the president of Iran is kind of overruled by the Ayatollah. I don't particularly see a reason with my limited, not expert knowledge why, if you got rid of the Ayatollahs, you couldn't keep the presidential structure in place in Iran under the understanding that they're going to be more pro-America. So maybe that's an outcome that they're going for, because Pezeshkian, I'm totally butchering that name, but he was not one of the people that died in the airstrike. So he is still alive. He is still the president. The foreign secretary of Iran is still the foreign secretary. Neither of those people were killed. Maybe that's Trump's plan, is to just get rid of the Ayatollah and the religious structure of government and keep the elected leadership in Iran in place. And, even if it's not a rah-rah, totally go American, it's better, and they're spending less money on terrorist activities. So just throwing it out there that's potentially a potential option, because their current president was not known as a mega hardliner anti-American when he was elected, to the best of my knowledge, at least.
Hey, and
can I put a question out to the team? I'm sorry to interrupt, Tom, but what made you guys think? How do I phrase this? What made you guys think Trump wanted to strike just then, like a few days ago? Do you think that they got intel, or do you think that they were planning on this for a while? Do you think that what makes February 28th the day to strike Iran?
I think that the Trump has been writing the Trump biography as he's been presiding here, and he's looking at his legacy. He promised the people of Iran that he'd bail them out a month ago. He said that he'd give them relief, and I think he feels personally slighted, and he wants to write this history here with him doing what was to every other president impossible. We couldn't upset the Iranians for 4 decades now. We've been told you're not allowed to upset the look out the Arab streets and go. You can't upset the Iranians. And I think he looks at that and says, "Oh, so the other guys didn't do it." Just like he moved the embassy in Jerusalem, I think he's saying, "Okay, well, if you're telling me it's impossible, then I'm going to do it." And I think that he got together and the Israelis said, "Guess what, Donald? All your stuff's in the area," and these guys are having a meeting during the day in a building all together. Now's the time, and they said, "Let's go."
Yeah, so the stars aligned, and it's time to strike.
This wasn't just, he decided on a date. We've been moving.
No, I know.
We've been moving stuff over there for months, if not years. We've been moving stuff over there, and the reason why they went Saturday morning, our time, 3:00 in the morning, because it was daytime there, and they were all in one place together. And Trump said, "They're all in one place. That's where you hit." That's why they went that day. The intel, the intel that goes into these things,
intel that came in
is just it's just phenomenal. And like, we don't need 40 different missiles. They're all in the same room. Let's hit that room and boom. There you go.
It's like the U.S. Marshals ride along thing that I did with Steve. Is like the reason why they were able to strike that day is because of the intel that they received. So they're like, okay, the time is right to strike. So let's do it.
I would love it if Trump did this.
Typically, these things are at night.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If we didn't need to work 7 days a week and Trump did this on a Monday morning, I wouldn't complain. But it is what it is.
Yeah, he did not go by our timeline. That's certainly true. Hey, so one thing before we move along to the to domestic response to this, including Graham Platner, John, you'll understand this because you've been watching these guys for a long time. The Ayatollah was a vicious, ugly, just dirty. The old one, I didn't even know when we got the new one in the 80s. But he was just a dirtbag. This new one, these crazy radical mullahs, these guys are cockroaches, man. These guys are vicious, murdering slime balls. And you know what? They're also, Featherston, they're also humorless. They're freaking drive the Jews into the sea and the great Satan and like, oh, shut the bleep up.
Yep.
And John, maybe the worst violation, you've got a country with arguably the most beautiful women on earth and you make them wear veils. It's like, you guys suck.
Yeah, there are some very attractive, ladies over there. That's for sure. That is very good. Yeah,
beautiful. So let's go to Graham Platner, he's hitting all the talking points that you'd expect him to hit. If you guys didn't realize, he actually fought in the military. I don't know if you guys realize that, but he was actually in the military.
Well, wait a minute. I'll tell you again. Yeah.
Watching people who know nothing of the horror that comes with this kind of violence. People who could not even imagine what it feels like in the pit of your stomach when you hear that one of your friends has been killed. Or watching one of your best friends be ripped apart by high explosive. Watching people who have no idea what any of this looks like or feels like celebrate this. Disgusting. And then watching them turn around and tell us that these sacrifices are just what happens. We just need to be prepared for more casualties because that's what happens. It's not what fucking happens to them. It's what happens to us.
It's not really what happens to us. I mean, we don't have conscription here in the United States military. And, nobody's saying it's just what happened. Nobody's saying it's just what happens. I don't think we can be isolationist. Graham, I am sick of hearing... Was coffee?
Are you?
Hold on. What's breaking news?
Some action, yeah.
Breaking news: Prestige, Legit Home Care
That guy wearing bunny ears. Did I see that right?
Successfully obtained coffee, I believe. John Featherston may be talking to them in just a moment. John, we need that mic on.
I think that guy might have been wearing bunny ears. Did I see that? Did anyone else see that?
Well, then it is legit. So,
false alarm.
Okay. How far away is the closest coffee, by the way, John?
Oh, there's a Dunkin' Donuts right down the street.
Well, you got to when he comes back that there's one closer than Danbury, Connecticut, because it can make it a lot easier. So Platner, of course, yep. You guys have no idea. Chicken hawks, yada yada yada. It's that's the template of who Platner is, Graham. So okay, fine, but it is tired.
Yeah, it's so exhausting for Platner and for all these Democrats that just have instinctively decided they're going to oppose the exact opposite of whatever Trump's doing immediately. It's so exhausting. I gotta say, not a very big crowd at that Platner rally compared to a lot of the other crowds he's had throughout the campaign. I honestly anticipated it would be way more people there. I mean, there was still a decent amount of people there. It wasn't empty, but it was not a very big building. And he's had way, way bigger rallies in the past. And that was, Sunday at 5 p.m. And he was advertising it for 24 hours.
That was Sunday at 5 p.m.?
I'm pretty sure it was, right, guys?
5 o'clock, yep. And back
that does not explain his fresh out of bed hair that he's got coming on.
His hair was looking a little scruffy.
But, I thought it was interesting that Matt Dunlap was there, though, too. Oh, Matt Dunlap's jumping on the Grand Platner train, huh?
There's a lot of moderate Democrats that have decided they're going to follow the Mamdani progressive playbook and start being on the woke left like Dunlap. If that happened in the Biden administration, if the same exact events happened in the Biden administration, Dunlap would be celebrating it. Mills would be celebrating it. Maybe not Platner. I don't know. But I don't want to be callous. I haven't heard any evidence that Graham Platner's friends were blown to smithereens in front of his eyes, like he's been saying. I mean, it's hard to say that with a straight, with confidence, but I don't know. I just feel like it's a shtick. And Platner had a terrible weekend, and I feel like he might have made a slight miscalculation with this one because he was really getting hammered. He was not getting the support he expected to on social media on a lot of these platforms for his anti-war stuff.
I looked at some of the main wire's older coverage of Platner, and I had forgotten about the other stuff that he said, which now the national media is now aggregating and hammering him with. Like his, rape victims don't get drunk thing that he said before, and something, he's got all sorts of odd and fairly offensive. When he hits the sauce and gets on Reddit, around 20, it gets tough there. But Garrick, I did notice that. Go ahead.
It's funny. It's just funny that like every single thing that a leftist will criticize a conservative for is exactly what Platner is actually guilty of. You know what I mean? Like actually guilty of, because the things that he says are things that are like obviously demeaning, that could be or at least perceived as demeaning towards like all the like minority groups that they claim to be champions of and everything. Right. And also it's funny that he's allowed to have grace and forgiveness from them, but anyone who's right of center is not allowed to have any sort of grace for like a similar history, even though there's like a lot of conservatives who have been accused of those things but not actually guilty of it, but they just still will lob those accusations anyway, whereas Platner is literally actually verifiably guilty of the transgressions that they condemn regularly.
Well, and John, I understand. Okay,
great shirt, by the way, here. Look at that beautiful T-shirt. Whoever designed that is a true creative mastermind, I got to say.
Are those available to the public, Graham? And if they are, how might I obtain one?
They are available to the public, mainwiremerch.com, as well as my beautiful Stop Communism T-shirt. Or this is a sweatshirt, but they also have a T-shirt available in red as well. I got to say, surprisingly comfortable. Very, very high quality merch here for the mainwiremerch.com. So if you're a big Platner supporter, go ahead and get the right choice man T-shirt. Show your pride to everyone.
You just did that last week. Like, how quick was shipping?
Well, I bought this one before the store went live just to make sure everything was working. So that's why this came in. But generally, it's like 5 to 7 days between ordering and when you get it at your front door.
Well, so there's Platner's Nazi tattoo, okay?
There you go.
And he's also been on Nazi podcasts, and he's been hanging out with Nazi-adjacent people. He's got about 4 Nazi strikes on him so far. So now, if my wife sees me out at a gay bar, and she says, "What are you doing at a gay bar?" I said, "Oh, I just a cool bar. I didn't realize, whatever." That's one thing. If she catches me 4 times, then we need to have a conversation. This guy keeps being Nazi. And I'm sorry, Garrick, I don't like throwing away around the term Nazi, but as you said, he'd slap you with it if you were the one with all the Nazi stuff. So what gives? What is it with it?
Well, as long as you profess to be a socialist or communist, then it doesn't your Nazism is completely it's completely acceptable, or at least they'll be more likely to forgive you. As long as you profess the correct beliefs, then you can get away with a internet history that's rife with homophobia and racism and an actual Nazi tattoo. It's funny because like they've called like every conservative, like any conservative that you can imagine has probably been accused of being a Nazi at this point because they use the term so loosely. And I'm pretty sure that not a single one of them has an actual verifiable Nazi tattoo, but Platner does. And but they're like, it's okay, guys. It's okay. He didn't mean it. He's past that. Come on, So
yeah, it's amazing.
It's pretty amusing to watch, actually.
Yeah, John, you and I are closer in age, and I remember growing up I remember it being the 70s and the 80s, and hardly anybody had Nazi tattoos. Maybe like surviving Nazis. Other than that, it wasn't a thing. So like, what are people?
I went to high school during the Reagan administration. We had American flags. We were proud to be American. So, but I was going to mention earlier, one of the first articles I ever did for the Maine Wire was Graham Platner telling GQ magazine that Susan Collins killed his friends because Susan Collins voted, for the Iraq War. It's going to be fascinating theater to see if he's got the guts to say that to her when they meet on the debate stage. Because one, I think it's an outrageous statement to say that one United States senator killed your friends. I mean, it just shows you that Platner says things to get headlines and get attention, but I mean, that's a horrible thing to say. I mean, just a horrible thing to say because. Susan Collins didn't want your friends to die, Graham Platner. No elected official wants your friends to die, and it's just an outrageous thing. And I love your analogy about the gay bar thing because, like, if you've been caught 4 times with your Nazi thing, you are a Nazi. I'm sorry, everybody's allowed to make a mistake, but when you make the 4th mistake, no. And like I said on Friday's show, when people tell you who they are, believe them. Yeah.
It's funny what you just said about like the hyperbole that they rely on. Like he said that Susan Collins, like killed his friend. It reminds me of like all the people during COVID, and I call them the vax zealots, and they were the ones who were saying like, if you want to go outside and enjoy yourself, then you want to kill their grandma. You know what I mean? It's like the hyperbole and drama that they rely on to smear people is just, it's so reprehensible and almost amusing at times, but it's just, dude, it's just so ridiculous, honestly.
Well, Garrick, isn't that the strategy with everything? Trans people are literally dying in the streets.
Oh yeah, genocides. Yes, right. Trans genocides.
Always somebody's being killed. By the way, during COVID, even more disgraceful than those people were the "I'm wearing mine for you." Just so you know, I'm that good a person that I'm wearing my mask for you.
Even though they actively celebrated when people who got out, they actively celebrated the deaths of the unvaccinated.
Oh yeah, the biker rally and Herman Cain, they were thrilled. Aha! See, he went to a Trump rally. John, there's some great video of you talking to a city councilor from Maine. I can't remember his name. I don't have it right with me.
Brett Martell of the Lewiston City Council. We were talking about the Lewiston shooting just this afternoon on the corner of Lisbon and Pine Street, which is just steps away from City Hall. And
don't give it away.
Okay.
I want people to see. Out of nowhere, this an eclipse occurs briefly behind John. This is so freaking good. So what you're gonna
amazing
a little more than a minute of the video, and then watch this looming ominous figure behind them a little more than a minute in.
He would block out the
Maine Wire, right. Monday afternoon, downtown Lewiston, on the corner of Lisbon Street and Pine Street. You can see the Lewiston candles behind us. And the reason why we're here with Brett Martell, one of the city councilors. The Lewiston Shooting Fund controversy is not going away, and it's on the agenda tomorrow night for the meeting. Brett, why don't you tell us what's going on?
Well, it's not going away, John, and it's time for the city to provide a little bit of leadership here and do the right thing for these victims, their families, address the needs that still remain, and maybe have some accountability, find out where that belongs, whether that's the Maine Community Foundation. The Attorney General has told us that technically they've done the legal thing, but I think a lot of us are starting to wonder if they've done the right thing.
You know, I hear from victims all the time, and this has gone national news. You know, it's been on News Nation, it's been on Fox News, and I'm hearing from people all across the country. And their perception is that the Lewiston City Council doesn't care. Now, I know that's a explosive comment, but I mean, you're on the council. You know, your thoughts on it?
Well, I can tell you that I care, and I think that the Lewiston City Council should care. And I've got indication from city administration that there's concerns there and that we have some accountability. There is people in new positions that have been here since this shooting happened. And I think that there is people that are willing to look at this from a different point of view and see what we can do going forward.
So a meeting tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Lewiston City Hall. What do you suggest people do?
I think that if you want to see some accountability from your city leadership and you want to see issues addressed that really have an effect here in Lewiston, please come down, let your voice be heard. 7 o'clock, City Hall.
Amazing factoid. The mayor of Lewiston just walked right past us and didn't even say hello.
Was it? I didn't even see him.
Turn around, right there. The mayor of Lewiston just walked past us, doesn't even acknowledge what's going on.
Well, that's okay. I'll be there, and you guys can come talk to me about your concerns if you like.
Try to put the cursor back so we can see him back there. I want to keep him up.
I'm with the main
just kind of looming. It doesn't mean if they have to guess. Oh, there he is. There he is. Oh, that's beautiful.
We couldn't have planned that any better. We couldn't have planned that any better.
Pure serendipity, man.
How wretched.
Let's go.
Okay, Garrick today, actually, I just want to get to for a moment to the Portland Press Herald. Garrick sent us the most read stories today, and just story number 1 says Maine murders delight crow lovers. And is that a Nelson piece? Because that sounds like that is so obnoxious. Somebody just waiting, bursting at the seams to be able to use the term murder of crows. You know, it's called a murder, you know. Oh, it's just so, for me personally, Featherston, this reminds me of it just reeks of Boston Globe. Highbrow, bow tied. I haven't even read the piece, and I never will. But it just made me puke. Garrick, is this what I'm to expect from the Portland Press Herald?
It's funny because for a while they've been really boring, but like for the last, I've just noticed couple weeks, every day I'll look and see what the stories are, and I'm like, wow, this truly is the most boring outlet in the state of Maine. Holy crap. So the top 5 most read: Maine murders delight crow lovers. It's an article about crows that come to Lewiston, Auburn every year in the wintertime. And then 2 of the stories are about sports. One of the stories is about snowmobiling and the economy. And then there's an article about ICE detainees who are coming back home. So, yep. But like the number 1 most read story on the Press Herald as of this morning was about crows. Yes. Not like, any pressing issue facing the state of Maine. But like, and it's funny because like, it seems like the Press Herald is mostly sports now. Whenever I go to their website, it seems like it's dominated by sports headlines and then just like a couple, just milquetoast boring stories. So yeah, I truly don't know how they are still operating, but it's profoundly boring.
Well, not just boring, but to have a headline that says Maine murders delight crow lovers, it's a play on words. It's having fun with a murder of crows. It's a little bit highbrow, but it would also be more cute and funny if Maine actually didn't have murders, which it does. Mm-hmm. Maine murders evokes body bags to a lot of people, and it's just very interesting.
It's almost like
mafia killers.
Yes. It's like they were going for the if it bleeds, it leads, kind of philosophy, but with a story that doesn't have anything to do with anything that exciting,
Yes. Robert says, talking about the mayor of Lewiston, fat bastard. Yes, I think we saw that coming. He slinked away like the rat he is. It was a particularly slinky thing. It was dishonorable. Michelle says, I'm older than all of you. I'm 61. I remember getting under the desk in Florida in elementary school because of Russian bomb threats and the Iranian hostages when I was ninth grade. I didn't have to do the get under the desk thing.
Oh yeah,
John.
I did. I'm older than Michelle, so yeah, I had to get under the desk. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I remember reading stories about that about the Cold War, though.
Yeah, and there was also, you'd get the pamphlet in the mail that would tell you what to do when nuclear fallout hits. So it was going to be a thing.
That was like 9/11 was the big thing for when I was young. We didn't have to hide under any desks, but I remember being in school on the day of 9/11. I was in 6th grade, and I remember like the teacher coming in to tell us about it, and it was obviously very grave and dark. So
yeah,
no hiding under desks.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine being just a kid and seeing that. Maybe it's better to be a kid and seeing that, because if you're a kid, you've got a huge imagination and you haven't lived it all. And I don't know. It's probably not good, actually. Very few psychologists probably recommend it.
Yeah.
Did anything traumatize you in school?
I mean, I was 5 when 9/11 happened, so I can't really claim huge victimhood on that. I was a little too young and naive to really remember anything there.
Ryan says, seems like all the war game scenarios I've ever seen covered, explained by military guys, never ended well for Israel or us. We'll see this time. But you know what a story to tell is? You guys, is that the possible use of AI in this attack.
Yeah, that's a very fascinating angle, actually, Tom. I don't know if you guys have heard about the Claude and Amphro. What is it, Amphro project? Or big contract was canceled like a day before the attack, and then they signed a new deal with ChatGPT the day before the attack. Really fascinating stuff that I don't think has been fully fleshed out and reported on. But warfare is evolving incredibly quickly. You see these FPV drones that Russia is using. Over the course of the 2-year war, they've essentially shifted from a traditional drone to now almost entirely AI targeting. So they don't even have someone controlling it. The drone just hunts for people on their own, and they have like friendly fire systems marked in with their own tanks and their own soldiers. So really, it's just another example of whoever is going to control AI is going to control the future of the world. So as much as we don't like data centers, or as much as people hate on data centers, there's a reason for them. It's important stuff.
Yeah, and it's Anthropic that Hegseth had to fall out with. But I mean, it feasibly could be that you could, and maybe we're doing it. Maybe we're doing it to something. You could knock out every defensive layer that a country has, kill their currency or freeze their currency, knock off the grid, and AI could do all of this stuff without ever having to put a troop there. I mean, it's funny because it kind of reminds me of when two chess masters are going at it, and the guy moves does one move here, moves the 1 to the 7, whatever it is, and the other guy does another move here, and by the third move, the other guy just quits because he sees the scenario and it's over. I wonder if this is going to be foreign policy is going to be just gamed out ahead of time. So the Department of War just sends to China, these are the scenarios, this is the foregone conclusion, I'll leave Taiwan alone. That's for anybody to kick on.
It's fascinating, and it's probably 100% true. Yeah, I mean, the robots are going to rule the world one day, probably with AI technology. So, I mean, you're probably right on target right there, Tom. Yeah, scary to think, but yeah.
Well, I read a story that some random guy used Claude to just hack like 150 terabytes of data from the Mexican government. So I think it's a potential. We really need to get our security in line so nobody does that to us. There's real negative risks of AI too that we need to be prepared for.
And by the way, that's just Steve Robinson with the Mexican hacking.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
He's mad with the AI now. Steve is like really becoming a sorcerer, and it's great for Mainers, and it's not good for corruption. But yeah, this stuff is moving quick. Like, Garrick, how much do you employ AI in your life at all?
At this point, like almost daily, like, or at least here on the job, and I've been using it for maybe more than I anticipated, but it's truly been very, very helpful, especially when it comes to like, distilling articles from our policy guys.
We got action here. Sorry, Garrick. We got
some.
Yeah,
no, let's go. Let's go.
The coffee mission may have come to fruition here, and John Featherston.
I don't know if we're gonna have any luck. I don't know if they're gonna come back. We're a minute away from business hours being over for legit home care for the day.
No, I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so. That was just the mail. That was just the mail right there. So,
well, I'm saying their hours are 9 to 5, right?
Well, this is the 4th time I've been here. I've been here at 1 o'clock. I've been here at 10 o'clock in the morning. I've been here 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and today I got here just before 4 o'clock. I'm beginning to think that they're not legit. So
no, they're just very, very busy, John. They're busy,
just as
providing
coming
care.
back, John. That's right. It was it's the dead parrot skit. So,
but I think I'm going to do this a couple times this week. Go to these healthcare agencies that, as I call, are zombie healthcare agency. Garrick's been with me to a bunch of them. I think we'll just broadcast them from there so people can make up their own decisions on what, like these organizations don't exist, but your taxpayers are being used to bill their storefronts. It's
a great point, John, because how many of these have you been to? Like total, like 50 or 60 now, if not more?
I'm at 52 officially that I've gone multiple times to and knocked on the door.
Really, and I remember
we've seen one person
at them. The first time we went, we thought maybe it was kind of a fluke because there was no one there at any of the offices, but it was on the week of New Year's Day, and so we were like, maybe it's just a holiday week thing, and they're all gone. Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. And then we followed up the next week during regular business hours, same thing. Not a single person.
And then Steve and I went back another time without you, Garrick, and we didn't find anybody. And now I'm just going to, and like I said, this is the 4th time I've been to legit home healthcare, so it's not very legit.
One other thing, just about, it might seem like semantics, but I'm going out for coffee note on the door.
Yes.
Really survives maybe a 17-minute window generally.
Yeah.
That's not, I'm gone permanently until I get my coffee. But the fact that that's all, just throw a little note on the door. It says, if we show up to this podcast at Mainwire TV and I'm seeing 3 boxes with 3 notes saying out getting coffee, it's still AWOL. You're not here, We need legit home services right now. And even
fun factoid, if you call that number, it's disconnected.
That note has probably been on the door since 2019 too.
Yeah.
I'm curious, John, actually, if you're going to find that note at other places. I wonder if that was a memo that went around for the Dr. Oz investigation, that all these places just started throwing notes on the door to try to get them off the scent.
It would be interesting, like when Dr. Oz does come to Maine, I think it's just a matter of when, not if, that we take him to places like this so he can see it firsthand for himself and just be amazed. Because I don't know any other word other than zombie offices.
Mm-hmm. They're perfect word.
It's like how can this be?
Yeah.
And simple math would mean, I've been to them multiple times. You would at least run into somebody, I don't think we posted yet, but I did run into somebody this week. And when they realized who I was, they locked the door and said that they were busy. So, I mean, even when you do find somebody, you don't really find somebody. So I don't think we've posted that video yet, though, right, Graham?
No, that video is ready. I just wanted to flush it out a little bit with some background info, so we'll get that up soon. I think we really need to stress, though, legit home healthcare is connected to a current Maine state representative who is basically friends with Rep. Deca DeLocke, who is also Rep. Yusuf is who I'm talking about. That's connected with legit home healthcare.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who's also connected with another zombie home healthcare agency that that Seamus had a great story on at themainwire.com. So I recommend everyone go check that out. And then also owns a ton of money transfer businesses. Rep.
Just a coincidence, Graham. Just a coincidence.
Just a coincidence. Like how can anyone seriously think that this guy's got the best interest of Maine in mind with this network of business schemes? Like it takes time to set this all up and to build Maine Care. And then you have Rep Decatilak going back to Somalia and being a celebrity and like a mega star when she goes back there, and everyone lining up at the airport. Like it's very clear what's happening here. And if you're pretending like this is not happening, you're just like living in ignorance and denial at this point.
But you know what, Graham? You know what bothers me the most? And, having been a housing commissioner for almost 30 years and trying to work with, veterans and poor people and getting a roof over their head, this gentleman has multiple businesses, money laundering businesses, home health care business, money transfer businesses, and is a state rep. But he also lives in subsidized housing in Portland. So he's taking a house away from somebody, that needs a home, stuff like that. So,
And so did Decatilak, by the way. Decatilak also lived in subsidized housing.
She still has the residency in South Portland. Yep. So, you've got a homeless problem in your community, but you're taking up a house and you have enough businesses where you're billing main care, millions of dollars. Don't take up a house, that when somebody needs one.
John, it was only a matter of time, but on the chat now, you are being objectified. John, the gray fox. Here we go. Here we go. Only a matter of time. All right. Garrick, did you want to mention something about Erica Kirk?
Well, there was like the documentary that evidently Candace Owens produced or is producing or is releasing soon called The Wife of Charlie. I actually meant to look it up this morning to see like what's up with that.
Yeah, essentially she contends that it's a cabal of Turning Point people who got Charlie shot. Essentially, yeah. I believe it says, and Candace is not afraid to lurch from position to position, but now she's on the Erica Kirk got Charlie shot bandwagon.
Yeah, and that's and it's been suspected that's been implied from her for months. Mm-hmm. Steven Crowder accused her of doing that, even though what he was referring to wasn't explicitly like accusatory of Erica in this situation. So it was kind of bewildering. But like she has at least implied that Turning Point was essentially in on it for months now. There's been a conspiracy for a while that that it was Israel. There's been a conspiracy that it was Turning Point, that it's Erica, that it was some kind of conspiracy between the two. But it's weird because like I don't watch Candace's podcast. I was a little bit after Charlie died. I find her to be like just really exhausting, and it's just her whole life. And it seems like every YouTube episode is just her being mired in conflict, and like it feels like watching a soap opera or some kind of drama show. So I'm like, it's not substantive to me anyway. I just find it annoying. But I've been intrigued by this story of Charlie's for since he died. He came to Maine in August of last summer. Steve Robinson moderated. Not moderated, but he like hosted a little Q&A thing with Charlie there in Old Orchard Beach, and I was there taking photos. And so I got to meet Charlie, shook his hand, all that stuff. It was cool. And a month later, he's shot to death in front of thousands of college students. So when that happened, I immediately found myself, without really knowing much about Charlie's family with Erica and the kids or anything like that, but I just found myself, like as a Christian, just praying for her and feeling like deeply sorrowful for her and her children, and immediately thinking that it was probably a deranged leftist who, probably is anti-gun but is willing to use one to kill a right-wing extremist Nazi, as they would claim. But it was really weird, man, because within like a day or two, when Erica's starting to make these public appearances, especially when she went on in Charlie's studio to like mourn his loss. Yeah. I remember texting a friend being like, that was really weird, and I was like, I just felt like I was getting icky vibes and red flags. And I felt like I was watching a performance, and I was like, oh, I don't like feeling this way because she's a widow. You know what I mean? Like her husband just was violently assassinated in front of people. And, but I couldn't like shake that feeling. And then every subsequent appearance after that, including the whole, like the funeral, which was basically like a MAGA rally, which was really weird. It just kept becoming more and more bizarre. and people were likening every Erica Kirk appearance to like a WWE superstar, entrance, which is actually true and pretty accurate. And so then I just started to feel suspicious, and I was watching like all these clips of the actual assassination, and like really microscopic levels, basically. And I will say, like, Candace did show a clip of like one of the Turning Point guys like walking away on his phone as soon as Charlie was shot, before his body even hit the ground, and he's like just kind of strolling away, like sauntering, like not even running away. It was just, there's just too many weird things about it, and Erica has been truly just strange, just suspicious and weird, and not like normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we would, and everyone keeps saying the same line over and over, which is everyone grieves differently. But it's like, I feel like I'm watching a sociopath sometimes. Well, and so I don't know if I know I'm not allowed to think that, according to some conservatives. But
when JFK was shot, remember, Jackie wanted to keep the blood on her dress so that the world could see what happened, and that's how she was working through the trauma that happened. And with Yoko Ono, when John Lennon was shot as well, she kept bloody clothes and things, and she went veering off into even more bizarre behavior than she had been historically done. What I think is that people around Erica Kirk should have told her that she needs to go spend time with her family. She was too. You can't get over that kind of trauma that quick. That's what I believe. And she shouldn't have been out there at all. Somebody should have said, no, just go, stay away from it. I think she thought she was honoring Charlie in a way by doing the Turning Point thing everywhere they went. But she seemed to me to be just too wounded to be in front of a camera.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Yeah. And so I'm really curious to see what Candace is, even though I don't watch her podcast, I'm really curious still to see like what ends up coming of that, because I just started to really have some weird suspicions about Erica, as just watching her like on a human level, and just feeling like every time I saw her felt like I was watching a performance, and manufactured tears and everything like that. It like didn't seem like she was being sincere at all, ever. And I just feel like I detect almost like a sinister kind of vibe from her. But like I said, like even though a lot of conservatives are seeing the same things as me, I know that there are also a lot of others that are like, don't you dare even question Erica Kirk. She is a grieving widow. You are a piece of crap for even having that suspicion. Like, they want to censor you. They don't even want you to raise any questions at all, which I find also really insulting and offensive. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, can't I just ask questions? I'm like watching this thing, and my intuition's like, going crazy watching her over and over.
Yeah, but you're not alone looking at the chat. Graham, your thoughts?
I've been out on Candace Owens since way before it's been cool to be out on Candace Owens. She was tweeting 5 years ago about how she went to Whole Foods every day, and she was pissed off during COVID that she couldn't go to Whole Foods every day. And I was like, there's no normal person in the world that goes to Whole Foods every single day of their life. So I've been out on Candace ever since then, and I've genuinely paid 0.0 attention to this situation. So I have no take to add to this, unfortunately.
Yeah. John, do you have thoughts on Candace?
I've never been a big fan of hers. I'm not anti her, but I've just never been a big fan. She doesn't, talk what I want to talk. But I mean, it's a fascinating conversation that Garrick brings up. I mean, I've had similar thoughts about like, why are you holding this big huge rally in Phoenix, Arizona? Like, like it's too big, and. Why are there fireworks and the Super Bowl halftime? That wasn't what I thought it was going to be either. So as everyone says, she's a grieving spouse, and my heart goes out for her because she's got a young family and she's got to live the rest of her life without her loved one. So it's hard, but it's an interesting conversation, I would say. Yeah,
it is. Garrick gets the chat going here. Hey,
it's a very controversial subject.
It is. We have a lot of live viewers, Graham. Did you realize that? I just saw that. That's more than almost anywhere else I ever host anything. Certainly my own thing. And other
people are really into Mainwire TV. It's been a great success so far, and we appreciate everyone tuning in. I think on Facebook we got like 10,000 views cumulatively, so that's pretty good. And we're going to start pushing out on YouTube. But just so everyone knows, we are available on Spotify and Apple and anywhere you can get a podcast. So If you want to listen in audio form, just search the Robinson Report on Apple or Spotify or any of that. You can tune in later too.
There's been about 24 comments about what a fetching shirt that is you have, Graham. Is that available to the public?
MainWireMerch.com. Stop Communism. We got Ryan Fecta. We got Shenna Bellows. We got Shelley Pingree with the Eclipse glasses, one of my favorite photos. We got Platner. And we got Mills, really the Mount Rushmore +1 of communists in Maine that I can think of. So buy merch and save Maine and stop communism. It's a win-win-win, triple win. MainWireMerch.com. And like I said, I mean, we're tinkering with the designs. I view this as almost like an investment. This is like getting gold or silver or Pokemon cards or something. You know, the value is only going to go up over time on the Mainwire merch. So check it out at MainWireMerch.com.
John Featherston, thank you for being up there and watching the store while the employees look for the most elusive coffee in human history. We appreciate it.
They're still searching. Legend has it.
Yep. Joining us, Graham Pollard. My name is Tom Shattuck. We will see you guys tomorrow.